So now, there's this video I've wanted to react to for a while, and it's about a subject matter that's been very close to my part of my content. Is actually looking at how the way the cultural changes in Hollywood have made it such that now everyone in the world seems to being pushed towards doing films the same way. And this is really because this is what I've been thinking. Why Hollywood pretends to care about everything. You've noticed that everything that happens, whether it's a war there, it is this there, it's a little incident here, it's a little viral thing, that they're all in. But you always notice they're always in on just one side of whatever ideological uh, divide that describes most of us these days. You're right wing or left wing, or you're woke or what. But they're leaning more into the woke, which is this identitarian movement where everything is seen through the prism of identity. And this activism has been a very, very intimate part of Hollywood, where now every movie, every film there has to be some activism. And I always wondered who brought that culture, because that's not normal, where everybody suddenly feels like a freedom fighter, but not really. It's just about uh, what the image you're trying to portray, the PR part of it, but it's not actually on the ground. And personally, this has disturbed me, because I've noticed in my own industry, the film industry, that we are being pushed more and more to push certain Western ideological dispensations that we don't agree with. And if you don't follow them, you are ostracized, of course, and they'll try very hard to make business for you, to do business very difficult for you. So there's this video from this channel called Idea Theory. I subscribed to it after I watched this video. I think it was very well done. So let's watch part of it. It's a 25-minute long video, but I'm going to watch part of it so that you can go watch the rest in the original channel. Especially if you're interested on how these ideologies are starting to infect how we tell our stories and what we must include in our stories, because that's also a prescription they want to give. So just give me one momento to start that off. So there you're seeing Ben Stiller. Let's go.
She's black. She's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black.
Oh my God. Wow. A lot of people, when they tell you this, sort, you can feel, oh yeah, black is superior. No, but they wouldn't really put resources. Would just talk. If somebody says something like that, be very careful about such a person, because they're willing to say and do anything to hoodwink you or get you to their side. No.
White Jewish guy wishes he was black.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
And I want very much to live on the right side of history. And I'm an immigrant. My parents are refugees from Chile.
I don't understand.
Crocodile tears.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do.
I think
you know, all these people they're not telling you reality. What they're doing is they're trying to manipulate you emotionally. That's why there's tears everywhere. Oh, Mimi, I want to save the world. The dolphins and the poor children of Ethiopia. Or like it's all just there. And a lot of people have been taken in, especially if you are suffering. You'll be taken in by these words. But it's being careful. You have to be careful, because a lot of these people are full of it. Let's go.
the world should consider my president as public enemy #1 at this point.
It's our time.
And all these people is just they hate one particular person, the orange man, Donald Trump. It's actually like he broke their brains. Everything wrong in the entire society, everything that all those other corrupt politicians did before him and after and during, nothing except it's there. They didn't win the election. They're throwing the biggest tantrum I've ever seen. And a lot of these Hollywood people, they've simply lost the clout. They've campaigned for Kamala, nothing. Nobody cared. They just, because after a while and the amount of information that's out here these days, we know exactly who you are. We know that you're pretending. You're doing all these activities because you're getting paid. In fact, that time for the US campaigns, you could tell that a lot of the artists were being paid to show up. She wasn't strong. Everybody knew she wasn't. But they were trying to use all this emotionalism to get people on their side. Unfortunately, a lot of people have fallen for it. Currently, in our country, here, Kenya, what are we doing? Emotionalism everywhere. From the president to the activists to the Gen Zs to everyone like that. Nobody wants to take a step back and realize, oh, we messed up here, this. No. Let's all emote and become activists. We are the good people. Get out of here.
To have wage equality once and for all and equal rights for women in the United States of America.
On June 2020, Instagram flooded overnight.
richest women in the
Influencers,
world.
actors, producers, almost every face you'd seen on a movie poster or red carpet posted the same image, a blank dark void. This became known as Blackout Tuesday. The moment crystallized something, not the birth of virtue signaling that had been brewing long before, but its full institutionalization. The rules had changed. Activism went from being an accessory to becoming part of the job description.
Exactly. So if you didn't follow any of the things that the people in Hollywood wanted to do activism about, you're ostracized. Despite the fact that it was very clear that they were picking some of the most mundane things and trying to create mountains out of these molehills. And they kept doing it and browbeating everyone and try to force them to do it. You must follow this. You must. I'm so glad there's been quite a significant sledgehammer taken to these things. A lot of it has, like, it's still there, but like when they have this month they celebrate for the alphabet community, a lot of the big companies that used to splash that thing all over the place, this year they stayed clean because the customer said, okay, we've had enough now. This is not the most important thing in our life. Hey, what is wrong with you? And it's being done in an insidious fashion. That's what happened. So these celebs, I'm so good and moral and I really want the world to be perfect. Living in some mansion in Hollywood, imbibing the harshest drugs, doing the most stupid things in the world. We've known you now, DD performers.
Studios, talent agencies, even craft services, everyone needed to be aligned. Say the right thing, support the right cause, get in line. But once signaling became standard, once it was baked into contracts, press tours, and green light meetings, the question stopped being, what are they saying? And became, why are they all saying the same thing? It's one of the many reasons why people say Hollywood lost its magic, but that's technically not true. It didn't really lose it. It just handed it over. Not all at once and not to who you might think. It wasn't a coup from writers or directors or even activists, really. The takeover started far upstream with something invisible, investment memos, ESG ratings, and a letter written by a man you've probably never heard speak out loud.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you?
Ricky Gervais,
Hollywood doesn't believe in
Ricky Gervais, when he did those monologues, he had like 2 or 3 of them when they're inviting him for this thing. And he just kept telling them in their faces, and they're like, oh, no. But they kept on just like pretending like that these moral arbiters are the ones who decide what is good for us to follow and what not. And you see, that was like, we are going to go to the nitty gritty of it and how all this started, and why it's in every movie, every company in the West, especially. It's actually come to Kenya quite significantly. I've not done the numbers, so I'm just going to mention loosely, but you'll find that that's the case.
God, but it prays anyway, not to the God you know, not even to the audience. What it prays to is capital, and capital now has a moral code.
Please welcome Andrew Ross Sorkin and his guest, the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink.
Meet Larry Fink, He's not a
These
studio
people.
executive, doesn't greenlight movies or sit in a writer's room. But when he speaks, CEOs across America sit up straight. As head of BlackRock, a firm managing over $10 trillion in assets,
Think about that. That's like bigger than most economies in Africa, at least. Let's continue.
he controls more money than the GDP of France, the UK, and Italy combined.
Okay, so the Europeans also like, oh, wow.
But why is he important? In 2018, he sent a letter to corporate America called A Sense of Purpose, and it told companies they needed to serve a social purpose if they wanted continued access to capital. Profit alone wouldn't cut it anymore. If you wanted continued investment, you'd need to prove your virtue.
Now, on the face of it, you know, when he's mentioned it like that, on the face of it, it does sound nice. Though. So you have some social responsibility. You know, there's that thing that's in most corporate social responsibility. That has always kind of existed, but now it sounds nice. But I want you to listen carefully as the difference and why this was basically installed. These guys that run $10 trillion in capital will not invest in your company unless you follow these rules. I mean, that is normal for most investors and whatnot, just to take care of the investment, to make sure that it's not wasted. But this was not actually the case with these new stipulations. It actually tended to make the product and the companies that did that weaker and less efficient, and prone to making some huge gaps in terms of the kind of messaging they put out vis-a-vis the product. Both the product is weak, the messaging is weak. It's anyway. Let me not get carried away.
Most Americans never saw that letter, but every executive in Hollywood did.
Yep.
Blockbusters are very risky bets. When one flops, it burns through hundreds of millions. They need the goodwill of the money men to keep the lights on. The real business model in Hollywood is dead. Hundreds of millions borrowed against the hope that the third reboot of a collapsing franchise will be just familiar enough to keep international markets awake. But when the gatekeepers of that money stop measuring you by ticket sales and start grading you by your compliance with abstract social metrics, you stop thinking about what audiences want.
Now, think about this, because if you're going to think about it, if you invest somewhere, you expect the people that you are running that investment to have your best outcome, the best outcomes for you. That's their primary goal. But in this case, they were not doing that. In this case, they were actually making a lot of stipulations and investment that were not bringing a return. If you look at the Hollywood movies in the last 5 years, I think there's like an 80%, 80% of those movies have failed. At least they've not made back the money, or at least even made a profit. I'm not very sure of the 80%, but it's close there. I'll confirm and I'll put the numbers. Okay.
Start thinking about what Larry wants. That's how you end up with Disney creatives bragging on leaked Zoom calls about this.
Leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And so I
why is that something that a movie executive running a movie studio really be obsessed about? Like gay agenda? Like, what is that? Why is that the thing? Of everything else that's involved in movie production and the themes, and why is that the thing the top person is concerned about? Jiulize maswali.
feel like wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud of it. But I just was like, no one would stop me, and no one.
A moment that told the truth accidentally. Storytelling had slipped to the back of the line.
You're seeing that? Like, these are the things they say it's conspiracy theories, but this is the reason I do such videos, so that you have a clear path how these things come to be and for what purpose they're there. So it is. You see, like that woman who's been hired there, I can promise you she was hired because she was black, because that's one of the things that came with this from these BlackRock guys and everything. You have to hire a certain amount of black people, black women, just maybe white, whatever. Although I hear actually it's white women that have really taken most of the positions in this woke agenda of hiring minorities for the sake of it. In fact, they're saying white women are minorities because they're women, and women are more than men. You see how this doesn't make any sense?
Entertainment was out, messaging was in.
Yeah.
Now, I won't pretend Hollywood was ever apolitical. From Mr. Smith Goes to Washington to Platoon, ideology has always had a seat at the table, but
That's true, but it's how it was done and for what purpose. That is exactly. There's always been politics. There's always been all types of things, relationships. But how? Why was that not the case when all these other great movies were being done? They were handling very heavy social commentary, but it was handled with such class and finesse, and such high level of creativity in storytelling, performances. Everything would come together so beautifully. Not like every time you just sing the same damn thing and you're being told, no, it's not like that. We are doing. No, you can see it from the product. Anyway, let's continue.
And this is a huge but, those films were still trying to tell great stories.
Yes.
But now, it's story as delivery mechanism. The message comes first, the characters, dialogue, and structure just wrap around it. So
let me actually, because I've noticed, I've done projects with NGOs on maybe personally from climate. I've done others before, but I really don't want to relive those ones because this is one that I really liked. There's a way they're changing how they do activist and NGO films, because NGO films were really bad. The storytelling, because they wanted to hit you on the nose with the message all the time, and it never really resonated. It never was entertaining or even engaging as they wanted. And they're slowly changing that, engaging more high-level filmmakers to do that. Yes, I'm including myself in that high-level filmmakers in Kenya. Yes, but they're doing that because in as much as you want to send a message, it has to be done the correct way, the learned way. What I would say, the art must be honest. That's what really misses from a lot of like the NGO films. It's kind of like a lecture to the public, not trying to reflect what's going on and maybe offer or the pathways out of it. If that's what you're chasing, just the normal storytelling techniques would work perfectly, but they try to change everything because now the messaging, we have an ideology here that must be pushed. So they push that no matter what. Forgot about the story. Let's continue.
So what does that have to do with Larry Fink?
Yes.
Simple. When studios noticed that their largest institutional shareholders weren't evaluating them based on ticket sales or streaming numbers, but on ideological compliance and stakeholder capitalism, they adapted accordingly. Suddenly, producing a film wasn't just about making it good. It was about checklists. Did your cast represent a certain demographic breakdown? Did your themes promote a particular worldview? Did your corporate DEI training satisfy institutional shareholders who hadn't watched a movie in a decade? You might be tempted to think this is conspiracy talk, but here's what actually happened.
It's not.
Within 3 years of Fink's letter, 92% of S&P 500 companies, yes, nearly every major corporation,
92%, all these Facebook, Adobe, Dell, Yahoo, Microsoft, Google, Intel, McAfee, Oracle, IBM, everybody
began publishing ESG reports. Now, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. Sounds harmless enough, but in
that's the trick. Listen.
Practice, it's a scoring system used by massive investment firms to rate companies based on how well they align with progressive political and cultural goals.
That's the thing, part of the problem is that the people who are doing it, who are these people and for what reason? Forget what they say it is. What is the actual reason? What are the repercussions of these decisions? We'll talk about that, but I think it's going to cover
tell a company, lower your emissions, diversify your board, echo the right values, or risk losing funding. That's the deal. And when $10 trillion says jump, corporate America doesn't ask why. They ask how high. Disney, Warner, Universal, every major studio now dances to that tune. They have to. Their access to capital depends on it. But the contradiction here is the studios act like they're leading a movement when they're just following capital. They frame themselves as moral innovators. but
The-
every step is dictated by investor mood swings.
Ex-
There's nothing
Exactly. You are told by this, because if you look at their portfolio, this BlackRock, Vanguard, all these people, they also have weapons manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, media empires everywhere. So these are the people who are doing good, and they're also doing the worst things on the planet. But they are the ones who want to tell you how your morality should be. Otherwise, we don't give you anything. I mean, I get it. It's your money. Do what you want. But when you want to affect every government institution in the world, forget like America, the West, no, in the world. BlackRock is here. It has an office here in Kenya. They want a stake in every single thing that is important to humanity. Energy, manufacturing, social, entertainment, everything.
revolutionary about conforming to the demands of your largest stakeholders.
Mhm.
But while studios were tailoring their content,
These two are acting the weirdest, man. And then, of course, how these people are degenerates. We've seen Diddy's case, Diddy's court case is really showing, oh my God, these people.
to appease ESG scorecards, their audience was voting in a different language. Silence. Disney's stock dropped from $201 to $85 between 2021 and 2022.
So that is supposed to be for the shareholders. I think the stock is dropping with your
And
investments.
within that time, we saw the biggest flops in the company's
Yes.
history.
Yes.
And despite all the flops and box office bombs, the message kept coming. A
Mhm.
more market-minded industry might have paused, asked questions. But remember, these weren't market decisions anymore. They were compliance decisions. And this was laid bare in 2024. Disney's CEO Bob Iger declared that the
Iger.
company would focus on entertainment, not messaging. Literally a few hours later,
They know. You see, from the guy coming to say it, they know what they are doing. We are messaging. We are sending. This is propaganda for a certain ideology. Well, these movies are propaganda for a certain ideology. They know that. They actually do, and they say it. The question is why? Why do you want such large-scale social engineering from such people? Why can't the freedom they claim to propagate, why can't they afford it to us? Like say, oh, Africans, you can tell your own story like this, or these people in the West who think differently. Why not? Why this homogeneity? It's called homogeneity. Yes, you want the same people to think the same, behave the same, talk the same. Why? Why do you want to institute such poison in society? Those are questions I'm asking. I have my own answers, but this is also for you to jumble in your brain. Just let it mull in there. Just find out. Think about it, because a lot of us just do things, man. Especially in the creative industry, where we are so desperate for capital. Like we keep, like some of our biggest productions, like of late, they've all had this messaging because they're getting the money from these people. When we speak about it, you are blacklisted. Don't care about your blacklisted people, because they actually want to talk to the people, the customer, the viewer, the fan, the person on the ground, not you, because you don't even care about the business. You don't care about the product. You just want the messaging. You don't care what the customer wants, do you? You don't. So why should you be followed at all?
studio announced a female Silver Surfer. You couldn't script a better parody. Iger was trying to hedge, placate the people who buy the tickets and the people who control the credit. But when those two groups want different things, neutrality becomes cowardice. And we all know how Hollywood execs are practically allergic to choosing sides unless someone else chooses first. But Hollywood's choice is clear, has been for years. Major studios now employ sensitivity
readers. I've been through this. It's some of the most draconian way of trying to control storytelling. It's just the worst thing in the planet. And the people who are doing this sensitivity reading are not artists. The executives who have done some course there about black masculinity or or they don't want you to say this word, it might offend that person or that community. You don't do this because it might offend that. So you're hamstrung in your storytelling. That's why the stories come out so fake and horrible. Despite all the technical prowess, the effects, the cinematography, it's just based on nothing. Those technicians are keeping them afloat. Barely. Because story is king.
Readers, people whose job is to read scripts and flag anything deemed politically problematic. Think of them
Imagine.
as internal censors appointed by the ESG conscious executives worried about an activist shareholder revolt. In 2021, the top 3 institutional shareholders, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, owned a combined 20% or more of nearly every media conglomerate. That kind of ownership.
Now you see that's where that 10 trillion portfolio is. That's where they own all this stuff. At least they have shares in almost everything.
It gives them outsized voting power on board decisions. And with that power comes influence on hiring, on diversity policies, on executive compensation, and yes, on creative output. And so if every studio feels like it's making the same movie with slightly different actors, they probably are. Because they're all playing to the same judge. And you're watching an industry desperately trying to sync its content with a moral index it didn't write.
Empathy is not weak or woke. And by the way, woke just means you give a damn about other people.
You see, everybody, all of them, we give a damn. You don't. They don't. Who buys this? Do you guys buy this when this Hollywood degenerates say this? Oh, we care about people. No. If you as an African are not down with, say, the alphabet community propaganda, do you think they'll tell you that they care about you even if you're a poor African? Would you think so? Test it.
In 2020, Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian after posting a, let's say, politically provocative meme. It wasn't obscene, wasn't even offensive by pre-2015 internet standards, but it clashed with the dominant ideological orthodoxy inside the company.
She's suing them, by the way, with the help of Elon Musk.
She was dropped almost immediately. Disney couldn't afford to appear out of step with the cultural expectation.
And that Mandalorian was like a saving face kind of series because everything else had failed. Then it came out, then people liked it. Then they're like, oh, people liked this Gina Carano. She has a good following of just normal people, and then they really supported her. She's come out stronger, in my opinion, since she was cancelled from Hollywood.
Set by the same activist investors.
It doesn't hurt like she looks like that. She's about what?
Scrutinizing their ESG reports. And so what began as a financial trend, ESG investing, stakeholder capitalism, ended up warping the content millions of people turn to for escape.
If you guys watch this thing, there's a plus where they are saying the power of media. The cringiest seed of the 2000s.
And while box office receipts shrink and audience trust erodes, studios stay the course. Because again, they're no longer judged by the audience. They're judged by frameworks created in skyscrapers thousands of miles away from the sets, written by people who will never sit through a 2-hour superhero movie in a Kansas City multiplex. Now, this isn't a culture war in the way people usually frame it. It's mostly just a supply chain issue. When capital itself gets politicized, everything downstream, media, education, corporate hiring, starts aligning to the same incentives. And
do you understand? Not everybody has to be sent the memo. You just let them see where the resources are going and they adjust accordingly.
Hollywood goes from producing culture to manufacturing compliance. It would almost be tolerable.
That's the best. That's the best description, actually. They came from producing culture to manufacturing compliance. We all support this. We all support that. We also like, you're seeing now, is it, are the threads coming together? Are the points following?
If Hollywood's only sin were being out of touch, another elite industry fumbling its way through relevance. But that's not enough for them. They can't just fail quietly. They have to fail righteously. They have to insist on broadcasting their virtue because they think moral grandstanding can cover for creative bankruptcy.
Moral grandstanding, fake moral grandstanding, cannot cover for your deficiencies in anything. Competence is king. When you are put somewhere because you are SG blacks, you are women, you are LGBTQs, you are this, You're not there because you're competent. You're there because of this rubbish where people are trying to force an ideological slant, trying to force everything. No matter what it is.
And that whole phase has given birth to a whole new industry.
So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a
Ricky.
platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world.
I cannot add anything there.
ESG scores were supposed to be a compass, a way to align capital with conscience, but in practice, and like every other progressive doctrine, they're just another shell game. Companies chasing optics instead of outcomes, oil giants touting diversity stats while drilling new wells, streaming platforms celebrating.
There's nothing wrong with oil. We will continue to refine it and bring other methods in. Everybody, but I think he's saying the way they talk about that, and then on this other side, they're also claiming it's the oil creating all the problems, but they give some money and create a section of ESG where we are following the climate change and whatnot. They don't do it. And for me, that's the thing, because it's used as a PR tool, but the actual action is not there. They're making billions and billions, hundreds of billions from all types of taxes on this and that, or what did they say, to cushion the less fortunate against climate-related blah, blah, blah. But they don't do it. They don't come to the ground and say, okay, you need to build this, and this here is the resource that we collected from these people. No, they give it to a small group of people, corrupt people, that just give out trinkets for the PR, then the rest of the money they keep. So they continue to have this very intoxicatingly rich group of activists that now they throw their weight around. They're in your government, they're everywhere. Like whatever you say doesn't matter to them. And that's the problem we had. They've become like the people that they are claiming they are fighting.
Celebrating carbon neutrality while serving content off data centers powered by coal or gas. It's
because that's just like, I don't understand why people can't just say, yes, we need the coal and gas and oil and whatnot, as we are looking for new methods, because yes, we are looking, there's a high amount of pollution here which will cause this. But at the same time, you find that what they are saying, the science is so flimsy too. But we are not supposed to question this. And that's, I hate that people want you to just follow. So just like, and then they're not even making it worth your while. Everybody's getting paid to say their messaging, but they want everybody to just follow along while you're getting nothing. Even whatever they're claiming to institute is not working. It's not even meant to work.
All signal, no substance.
Yep.
And the entertainment world latched on like it always does to turn boardroom compliance into red carpet virtue.
Yeah, they're the most narcissistic people in the world. Man, I've gotten tired of these Western celebs and their wokeness and their. I am so tired. I don't care. You know, me, I just said, whatever. If you don't want to deal with it because I don't follow this garbage, it's fine. I'm totally fine with it. Because this is taking us to hell, and everybody just wants you to just nod along. It's the way we do even politics. You can tell something is wrong, but we might. Man, if people have to be honest, let's be honest. Let's cut the crap,
And just like that, the language of ethics got hijacked by people who treat morality as set dressing, and it all.
That's exactly it.
Always starts with applause. Not yours, probably.
Yeah.
But somewhere, someone is clapping, usually in a theater or on Facebook or at an award show where the dress code is activist, but couture. A millionaire accepts a trophy, says something about justice.
Sit back and watch. We have to act, and we have to act now.
But you're supposed to feel something. Maybe pride, maybe awe. What you probably feel instead is fatigue. Not because you're against justice. I mean, who could be against justice? But because
they use our actual grievances for this. They're actual real grievances, but they've come in now to hijack the process, make themselves the gods of how their things are going to go. And now anybody else outside of that, now you better. You uchunge sana. Better not go against us. But we are nice people and we are the world. But like it's that kind of dictatorship. That's what it is. It's very finely done. It's excellent. It's done. The manipulation, the social engineering, it's excellent. I have to accept it, but we are seeing it for what it is. It's corrupt, pretentious garbage.
Something about the whole performance feels empty.
Yes.
Because you know you're watching someone do an impression of sincerity.
Yep.
You know they don't believe what they're saying either.
Yep.
Not really. They're just playing the part. And no moment captured that dissonance quite like that strange mid-pandemic fever dream known as the Imagine video.
Oh.
There's no heaven. If you try.
I remember this. It was like, and in that time I remember that I just lost like 80% of my clients. We couldn't work. Oh, whatever savings we had, all gone. Oh, that's when these people just came out. Oh, you know, we are like you in our mansions. I have no problem with you living in your mansion. But what's with all this pretense? There was like, and they were pushing everything to be shut down as everybody beneath them was suffering for fakeness so that pharmaceutical companies could sell shit. That's what it was. The bottom line, if you write until this now you don't know that, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. Sorry.
It's March 2020. The world is locked down. People are stuck inside apartments with peeling drywall, jobless, scared, disinfecting cereal boxes.
Yep.
And here comes Gal Gadot singing about no possessions from an apartment that probably cost more than that you make in 5 years. After her, a parade of equally out-of-touch celebrities join in, each of them swaying slightly off-key, each of them insulated from the chaos the rest of us were choking on.
I can't even lie to you. Me at this time, I just said, I was just hoping because I'm in the same industry that I don't become these people. That it's so easy for you to pretend to care. Like it's so easy because you don't give a damn. Like it hurt my feelings. These people hurt my feelings. You know, when you hold like people in high esteem and then you find they're just empty shells.
Maybe they meant well, maybe, but meaning well doesn't land when it's wrapped in that much unearned comfort. What was intended as unity became satire. They wanted to remind us we were all in this together, from the safety of their guest house saunas. But 2020, being the ultimate year of cringe, gave us so much more.
Every time I explained away police brutality or turned a blind eye, I take responsibility.
In June, as streets across the country erupted in protests, Hollywood answered the call with a black and white video titled, I Take Responsibility.
This is the George Floyd. They just put some career criminal in front of black people. Now we must support this person. Somebody who had been jailed over 10 times. Like I just didn't get it. And you just have this social movement forcing you must. I said no. Absolutely not. Is that our level? That level, such a person. Just because he's American and they have this thing going on. They are police. I just found out it's like 10 black men who are unarmed who get shot. And it's not just because they're unarmed, but you would think the way it was going, like thousands of black people are just being shot by police randomly. In fact, they did a survey and they're finding people are saying, 90,000. Like it was ridiculous numbers. It was 10. The way the world is. Oh my God. That's the time for me by the pandemic period. it really showed. I saw people for who they are, really. All these celebs and world leaders just locking everyone down as they transfer wealth to the richest. I have no problem with the rich people, I'm saying, but the corruption must be called out, man. You're closing down small shops, you're opening up the big supermarkets. Hey man, that time, Yanni, if you weren't red pilled, that time, you're a sheep.
Actors who've made careers pretending to feel things, now pretending to feel bad about racism, about silence, about something. It was vague by design, every shot delivered like a eulogy. But guilt, especially guilt without cost, has a short shelf life in Hollywood.
Exactly.
So it mutates, shifts into other forms. When Elon Musk became the avatar for Wrongthink, Alyssa Milano did what any self-respecting activist influencer hybrid.
By the way, Elon was their darling. Of these woke people, the leftists and progressives. The genius, the word is such a wonderful person. They waxed lyrical about Elon, I'm telling you. Until he said, "Oh no, I actually prefer Orange Man." You guys have gone insane. Like everybody could see it. Everybody can see it. Especially if you're an African and like you fall for like, what up with that? There isn't enough nonsense from the West in the last 100, 200 years for you to.
Might do. She sold her Tesla and proudly tweeted that she replaced it with a Volkswagen EV. But Volkswagen was a Nazi project.
I'm telling you, it's performative. For the moment, just get the clicks now, be on the right side. There, we'll walk. I do wish Elon well, by the way. He's a great man. Whatever propaganda you've imbibed, you cannot dismiss his accomplishments. It doesn't matter what you say. I love that for him.
Literally, born from Hitler's dream of a people's car.
Yeah.
That part didn't make the tweet. Because for Milano, the gesture mattered more than the substance, the optics more than the origin. That's the thread. Visibility over virtue. It's not about what's true, but always about what plays.
Hey, we elevated so many mediocre pretenders in this world. Hey, we have. Oh, we have. We've elevated too many stupid people.
Ryan Reynolds and his wife Blake Lively apologized for holding their wedding at Boone Hall Plantation 8 years after the fact. The venue had been a plantation when they booked it in 2012.
Actually, I have to be honest with you. I want to travel and see this because America, there are still plantations that from the slave era that are still there, kind of like museum. I would really like to see them. I think there's something about just being there and trying to imagine what happened and how, because you can like your history, like in our country. I am actually working on a series of Kenyan myths. Yeah, just I'll be releasing them just short films, 5-10 minutes. Just keep something alive there because we never have that. And also this we have Fort Jesus, but then the others are just here and there. Yeah. But these guys are like whole plantations.
After the fact. The venue had been a plantation.
Like this place, this is like places where people are living now, the slaves. You're kept here like in dormitories kind of setup, I think. That's why I need. Anyway, Tutafika, we'll go there.
They booked it in 2012. A plantation when they posted the photos.
2012.
A plantation when the wedding trended on Pinterest. But it only became a problem once 2020 made everything flammable.
Yes.
And Reynolds called the decision a giant effing mistake. Selena Gomez released this video that went completely viral. And the following months, she appeared at the Oscars draped in luxury fabric that cost more than most of those families will earn in a decade.
I'm fine with that also. Like if you earn your money and you make, but you see, I have to repeat this. It's always about this layered pretense, about caring about everything else and everyone. Well, you're just a tool. You have to be paid to send these messages out. By the way, a lot of these celebs have to be paid by NGOs or activist organizations to push these messages. So it's not free. So they don't care for real. That's the thing. But they're very rich, but they still have to be paid. When they're campaigning for Kamala, they have to be paid to perform in those rallies. What are people being paid millions of dollars? But
it wasn't the dress that betrayed the message. It was the whiplash. The emotional velocity from grief to glamour with no stop in between. You can't post about the border one day and walk the carpet the next and expect no one to notice the wardrobe change. And still, the contradictions only get worse with youth. Rachel Zegler turned her platform into...
This one, she made herself a toxic even to the woke producers of Hollywood. Because everything she was in, I think I was seeing US Side Story, then I think, is it Hunger Games where she was, which succeeded? Everything else she's failed. All the movies she's been and led, they've made losses huge, hundreds of millions of dollars.
A bullhorn. At one point, she tweeted that Trump supporters should never know peace, a line that might pass.
I need to, you see, right now we have a problem currently with the supporters of Kasongo and whatnot, people who voted for him and whatnot. But I wouldn't go out and say that you all should not have peace, because I understand that a lot of people are duped into supporting such people. I also understand that the way the economic climate goes, you make a wrong decision and then You know, some of these people are your family, so you're going to stop talking to your family because of who they voted for. I just think that's one of the stupidest things they've ever done in the left. They've really separated themselves ideologically to such a time like they can't agree on anything. That's why these people come up with ridiculous ideas. These ones come with the ridiculous ideas. Then they all double down on their ridiculous ideas. So we have a shitstorm everywhere. You know, whatever happens in America, you saw when Trump started tariffs everywhere. Why everybody telling me, why do you care? I care because it affects us. Our storytelling is being affected by this politics because unfortunately we get a lot of money from the West to do movies, and also at the same time, if you really want proper success, your movie must be accessed in the West, and this is how they close down ideologically. So you either join or you stay out.
A college protest at Columbia, but hits different when you're promoting a billion-dollar family brand. There's a tension there, selling innocence on screen while preaching vengeance online. It's a little hard to play the fairest of them all when half your audience is on your block list. But rage has always been fashionable among the resistance. Mark Hamill told fans to go force yourselves because of their voting choices.
Like, you see, imagine like an entire industry tells you that you must vote for this person or you are horrible. And actually, the people they're telling are their customers, like more than half their customers. Because even the so-called liberals on this side, half of them don't follow this stuff. There's always trying to manufacture consent that people love this wokeness, they love this progressiveness. No, we don't. And people are getting louder because we are tired and it's ruining businesses. Man. What's up with you guys? It's creating some extremely unrealistic goals that they don't meet, but they want everybody else to meet. You're flying to Davos for climate dinner in your private jet, but you're telling me cooking over here with my gas is creating a climate crisis. How about you go you force yourself?
Robert De Niro can't order a coffee without slipping into a full-blown anti-Trump monologue.
Yes.
He's an embarrassment to this country.
Man, this guy became cringe. Oh, it's like he has such great works, but my God, you see, this thing turned all of them into lunatics. And they became these moralizers. Some of you followed through because you thought you're going to latch on and make some money. Nothing. This thing is fake.
It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has.
This is because here you see the people voted for him. That's who he's speaking to. He's using Trump, but he's really just looking down on the people that voted for him. Your customers. They even say, you see, with me, I'm not woke. But I hope that I do my movies, so some woke people will say, oh, this looks great. Diversity, let's go watch. But I'm not going to pander. I'm just going to pander to a good story. This is, I think, a great story. Let's do this.
Basically turned deranged anti-Trump rants into his primary form of communication.
They are cringe.
Amanda Stenberg made a music video to own her own fans. And if there's a brain-dead, virtue-soaked progressive take floating around, you can bet Mark Ruffalo and Pedro Pascal are already sobbing into their oat milk about it.
Look at that. This guy is all that over the top. I'm just supporting gay. That video came out this LGBTQ month of theirs. And I mean, come on, like, who does that? Like, which normal person, which normal culture has this? Like, let's be real. What normal culture has this nonsense? Let's be real about it. Think about it properly. Of all the things, all the problems we have in this world, all the challenges, that can only be an occupation of the really tone deaf, totally disconnected, extremely privileged people, whether earned or not. A lot of them just don't get it. They want it to be their customer, but they think you're the lowly nobody.
These moments together isn't really ideology, but performance. Public morality as theater. The kind where the script changes mid-scene and no one remembers the last act. And what...
Look, this video, I watched 16 minutes because it was really nice. And I really let me leave you the next. It's 25 minutes long, so there's about another 9 minutes there that you can go watch. It's a really good video. Go and watch it so that you can understand why we talk about this cultural phenomena like this. It's because we don't want to be owned again by stupid ideas. We don't want to be owned by stupid ideas again. No matter how much there seem to be money in it right now, the money is not sustainable. You can see the people who are funding it at the moment, they're not funding those things anymore because they didn't make money. They lost them a lot of money. At the same time, created an extremely toxic culture around creativity and art and culture. And even now in real business everywhere, they created a very toxic environment and just want you to just nod along or you're cancelled. I'm not rich at all. I survive like everyone else. And I'm not going to pander. I refuse. If you want great art, come to us. By the way, you guys should see the things we are doing with Unreal Engine right now. Come. Let's create great art. Let's create culture. Let's create culture. Let's not be these people who are pretending that we are the moral arbiters of the world. And no, we are supposed to be honest in our approach to try and reflect what's in society, at least the ambitions. That's our work. We are a luxury product. I keep on trying to remind artists. We are luxury products. When push comes to shove, your first job is on that course. I'm telling you the truth. So let's be as effective by being honest, an honest reflection of our cultures and our storytelling. Let's not be, how do we say, stooges of people just because they're sending a few coins our way, coins that will disappear at any time if you don't agree 100% with what they want. And why do we pretend they want the best for us? We are seeing what they're doing to our businesses here. You're seeing what they're doing to government. They want everything and total submission now, but they're only using this, activism, we want to save you kind of narrative. And it's not true. I've tested it. I don't like the test, and I'm not going to go back there again. These people, they're already destroying their industry. But you see them, they have resources, and the culture is set and the market. If they just change their mind and they start doing great stories, like I've just reacted to Naked Gun, the new action comedy, which is what they used to, that's what I used to love, part of that, actual honest comedy, politically correct comedy that you hurt someone's feelings, you say certain things or show certain things or whatnot. Creating this sanitized, empty, uncreative space that we really cannot, we are not going to do our business if we follow this. People just don't like it. They just don't. I personally don't, as somebody who loves movies, I've never liked it, and I could tell when it turned, because I wasn't enjoying the stories and they're all the same and they're all pushing the same things. So it became monotonous, boring, and creative. Just well produced, but just crap storytelling. And very narcissistic actors, directors, producers, writers. Just they all turned to narcissists. Moralizing narcissists who didn't care about anyone else's opinion except their own. And they are not my moral betters. I refuse. They cannot show me that. Anyway, I don't know what you think about this video. I'm sure it's going to be a long one, but it has important information. You know what I'm saying? So kindly do leave a subscription on the channel if you do like this kind of content. A like is essential for the algorithm and the comment, so they know you like the stuff. And then, of course, share with people who might want to know this kind of information. And until round 15.